Hello and welcome! Today I want to talk about Venti. He is currently still on banner, but only for a few hours by the time this video goes up. Now, the current team, as you might have noticed, contains Kazuha. And I'm going to swap him for Venti for the purposes of this particular video. The truth of the matter is, quite often, Kazuha is better than Venti. So, if you don't have Kazuha, then perhaps Venti is a really good idea for you to pull. Other than that, however, you might want to think twice. Farina's just around the corner, and I think she's going to be quite an interesting character, but, you know, Venti is cool. So, let's talk about Venti and what he does and doesn't do. Let's go to Mondstadt. Okay, here we are. We're in Mondstadt, the home of the Animo Archon. Let's have a look. So, we've got the normal attacks, which are just standard bow normal attacks. Not particularly exciting and not doing a particularly large amount of damage. We've got his charged attack, which will apply Animo. And does Animo damage, but again, not particularly exciting and interesting. We have his skill, which if you just do a tap, will generate some particles, and if you do a hold, it gives you this 20 seconds worth of updraft, which is quite awesome. As you can see, he doesn't do a huge amount of damage. Ah! Ow! Right, so that's not really what his kit is all about though. What his kit is really all about is the burst. Because you see that it's just all held up in the air and oh, he's gone. The burst is probably the best crowd control in the game. But it is obviously linked to his energy, and you know, now he needs a recharge, so I'm going to just go over here and recharge him quickly. I've got a fairly large amount of energy recharge on this guy because, you know, ouch, you know, seems like a good idea. If I was to use the whole team, yeah, they're all dead. Right, except that dude. Ooh. Can use him to recharge. Fantastic. Ouch. Right. Now I can talk without being interrupted. Okay, so yeah, he's not as easy to use as Kazuha in that his skill doesn't really have the grouping. It's fine for doing a swirl, it's fine for generating energy, but it doesn't really group people. It's the old burst that does the grouping. Let's have a quick look at how I have built him. So, yep, he's actually got a fair amount of crit rate, very little crit damage, and 175% energy recharge, which is actually pretty decent on Venti. I'm using him with the Stringless, which is probably his best 4-star weapon, provided you can meet those energy recharge requirements, because of course if you can't use the burst, what's the point? It's the burst that does everything with this particular character. Artifact wise, you are going to want to go for the classic 4-piece VV set, Viridescent Veneer, because it's that buffing of the swirl damage that is just absolutely critical to, you know, the real support capabilities outside of crowd control that you get with an Animo. So I've got him on an energy recharge Sans to make up for the fact that he's using a elemental mastery weapon. If you can get enough energy recharge through substats, then it's worth going for an elemental mastery Sans. I've also got him on a crit build here, which is It would be better to go for an elemental mastery setup, so 3-piece elemental mastery or 2-piece and energy recharge. The problem I've got is I just don't have enough good pieces, so I'm pushing him to do more personal damage, animo damage, rather than swirl damage, which it would be better if it was elemental mastery. I will, when I get enough pieces, probably swap him over onto that. On the upside, the fact that he's got so much crit rate means that I could switch this out for a Favonius Warbow, and that would work really well, and then he would also generate a load of energy for the team. If we look at his talents, we've got the sort of fairly standard issue normal attacks and charged attacks for a bow character. We've got his Skyward Sonnet, which is the skill with the press and hold variant that we've already talked about, and then you've got the burst, which will, it can infuse with hydro, pyro, cryo or electro and deal additional elemental damage of that type. Plus with VV he's reducing the resistances to those swirled elements, so that's pretty awesome. His Ascension 1 passive gives him that 20-second updraft that we saw, and his Ascension 4 passive regenerates 15 energy for himself after the effects of the burst end, and if an elemental absorption occurs, then all the party members with that element that's absorbed get their corresponding, get 15 energy as well, which is, really handy. It's a good support feature. And then you've got the sort of decreases stamina consumption while you're gliding sort of passive, which is, they're fine. They help you get about, I suppose, so that's great. But yeah, so he's not the most complicated of characters. One of the nice things about Venti is I think his constellations are basically not needed at all. Most of them are focused on increasing his personal damage, although C2's not awfully awful, but Farazan exists, so this is more animo resistance decrease. But honestly, I wouldn't. I think C0 for this particular character is just fine and dandy, which does make him pretty free-to-play friendly, which is good. Especially when you consider that the stringless is a reasonably easy weapon to get through the gacha. Lots of people will probably have a stringless or two hanging about the place. I've got it up to an R5 over a year and a bit of playing, so yeah, it's not difficult, and there are plenty of other bows that will work with him too. Obviously his signature weapon is really great on him, and it's actually a really great weapon anyway. So yeah, the Elegy of the End, nice weapon, but the weapon banner is a bit of a, what's the phrase, it's a bit of a scam. You end up putting a lot of wishes in, and I like to roll on the weapon banner sometimes, because it is nice to have those 5-star weapons sometimes, but it has to be a banner where I really like basically everything. And I know what will happen if I roll on this one. I probably won't get what I'm after at all, certainly not Elegy for the End, and will almost certainly get a ton of Rain Slashers, because I'm just lucky like that when it comes to the weapon banner. So yeah, I tend to try and steer clear of it. So yeah, that is basically what we're talking about here. He works very well in this sort of team. There are teams where he is not as good.
Think you can get away? Press rebuild. My apologies.
He's sucking that big dude up there. If you like plunges, for whatever reason, it's quite handy for allowing your characters to plunge. It's quite good for the open world, because obviously it'll let you reach things that you might otherwise struggle to reach. So yeah, generally speaking, good character, fairly easy to build. So because I've got him on a crit build, one of the things that's holding him back is I have not leveled up his talents very well at all. If you're using an elemental mastery build, you don't really have to worry about these so much. They're not going to do a huge amount more damage when you level them up, and unfortunately, it's not going to increase the duration or anything like that. It'd be nice if it did, but it isn't. yeah, I mean, the additional elemental damage, I suppose, from the absorption might be worth having. So I would certainly level up the burst before I leveled up the skill, and the normal attacks I would just leave alone. I mean, really, when are you going to use them?
Let's go.
You know, other than for popping balloons in some event or daily commission perhaps, but that's about it. Going back to the weapon briefly, so the reason why Stringless is so good for him is not only does it give him elemental mastery to increase that swirl damage, but it also increases his skill and burst damage by 48%. And in particular with the burst, you know, that's where it starts to make sense. So yeah, it's good character. If you don't have Kazuha, might well be worth, you know, having a go, seeing if you can get a copy. If you are planning on getting Kazuha, already have him, then it might not be the most useful pickup, to be honest. Where he really does excel is in certain domains where you get lots of... Let's have a quick look. What do we got here? Is this the domain where there's lots of... No, it's not that one. This one. Yes. Let's teleport here. And I'll show you what he is good for. Because he really does have the best crowd control in the game when you are in a situation where you can use it. He's a bit more clunky than Kazuha to use when, you know, they're not groupable using his burst. But in this particular domain...
There you are.
Another tattoo.
Time for takeoff. Here we go. Allow me.
No. What did I say about not using his normals? That was actually a mistake. I meant to do that. Anyway, you get the idea. Nice. Okay, well, I think that's about all there is to say about Venti. He is an Archon, which means you are going to get the ever so slightly different looking animation on the party screen, which, you know, I want all the Archons, so I just recently got him, and so far I'm pretty underwhelmed. I had Kazuha anyway, and quite honestly, he's not necessary. But, you know, there may be cases where I'm pleased that I have him. Not sure what they look like at the moment, but, you know, it's possible. Right, put the team back to how I like it to be normally. Oh, by the way, he does do swirl damage, so he's one of those characters you probably do want to level up to 90. Just as one final thought. I haven't done yet. None of my Animo characters are at 90 yet, but most of them are at 80 or 85 in the case of Kazuha. So I will level him up to, you know, 90 when I have the requisite resources. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it fun. If you have, remember to leave a like and share it, and you can subscribe if you like. We're going to be doing lots more videos like this, covering all sorts of characters, just with a sort of quick look at what makes them tick and, you know, the best ways to build them. And yeah, I hope to see you in the future. See ya.